for the invitation to this training, and I'm very happy to have the possibility to provide to you the new developments, the new ideas, the new products of us. And of course, Julio for the training organization, making the training in Suvanka to take care about those very important, even in my opinion. I have had meeting last week with management of ABB, and we have spoken how important, very important is to have the possibility to train our customers, your customers, and ABB employers in such new technology, because in combination with KNX devices of ABB and our software, you will have the possibility to provide all-in-one solution to your customers, and of course to realize a very huge range of project types. And you will learn in the next 3 days how to use our software to provide such high-end solution to your customers. And what I also want to say, we are software developers. NETx Automation, we are software developers. We are developing anytime and every day a new functionalities, new software parts. And this new functionalities should be also trained and presented to our customers. And this training will give you also a little bit overview, outlook of the possibilities of our software, what we have just developed in the last couple of months. So please take a care, be concentrated, and most important part, if you're starting KNX projects in the future, take a care about the clear structure of the project, because the clear structure of the EDS of your project, of the hardware configuration, will help you to speed up realization of such projects, and of course save your time and your money for that. So thank you very much, and Julio, please take over.
Thanks so much, Paul. And thanks to ABB also for this opportunity for us to show you all our solutions and how can we manage and how can we face all these challenge when we have big projects and massive projects in terms of building automation integration. And we will show during these 3 days a really interesting solution to face any kind of project. It doesn't mind the size or the complexity, as you will see. And this is very important also for you to understand that with NETx Automation, you can give a global solution for any kind of project to your customers. So this is very important to understand that without this part, it's really complicated to finish a project properly with all the benefits that we can give. We have divided the training in three days, and this is also more or less the 3 big parts we want to explain about the software. The software is really sophisticated, I want to say, during the trainings, because the word complex is not the right word for this. It's not complex for you to understand how to make the projects using NETx Automation BMS Platform, but it can do really sophisticated things with your projects. And as Paul said, it's important to do a good job before using the BMS, because the more structure and the more clear is your let's say data point structure and organization, the easiest will be your implementations with the BMS. But in terms of the BMS itself, it's also possible to redeem a bad project or a not perfect project thanks to the BMS. So we will show you also how to do this kind of improvements during the during this process, because we have several ways to work with this. And now in the first session, on the first day, we will use the integration. We will focus on the integration of different technologies, starting with KNX. That is for us very important, but it's not the only one. Of course, protocol or standard that we can integrate, or we can integrate many different protocols. The most important in building automation, of course, KNX, BACnet, Modbus even, but many others. We don't have time to explain how to integrate everything, but we will do the most important, and we will do some examples that will be interesting for this part. The second big part of the management, when we have a lot of data points that we have integrated from our programming, from our KNX, BACnet, or whatever technologies that we have inside, it's very important to manage all these data points. So in terms of creation of alarms, in terms of creation of trending, so managing a database with all this information, or managing all the events that we have to handle and to monitor, and also creating events, creating alarms, creating reports of all this information. So this management is really important, but also the front end from the customer point of view. So let's say visualization. This is a way that we can call it. It's also very important. So the last part will be focused on this third very important part from our BMS. That is the graphical part, the visualization part. So I think it's a short training, very compressed, but we can show you all the most important things that we need to show for a project. And then if you have any question, we will have some time to try to solve all these questions and doubts that may arise during the explanations. But I think we have to start with Swankar, with the KNX part. That is already we have a few time to do this. Now about 45 minutes. I will try to do it fast and accurate, but we will need time. If we need some extra time, maybe we can get from the second hour, I think, because the BACnet integration is really easy and fast, and maybe it's important to focus on this KNX integration.
Sure.
So
Absolutely. Yes.
I think
Okay.
we can start with this, and the camera is not interesting now. I will open it again, because as you can see, we have some practical boards we have some practical boards in the background. I think we have some issue with the audio. Subankar, can you hear me well, or it's okay to hear me now?
I can hear you, but it was little better earlier.
Okay.
Uh,
Now it's better.
yes, it is more clear now. But if it can be little bit louder, Julio, would be great.
Yeah, I think I can speak louder, but okay. If
But
you have some,
this is better now.
okay, okay. Thank you. Sorry for this. It's we have different micros, and maybe it's not
Hmm.
the best one.
Yeah,
Okay, so
this one is good.
okay, so let's start with the KNX integration. I was telling you that we have 8 practical boards that are simulating sort of hotel example. So let's say 2 rooms in different floors. So we will see how to do this integration from the KNX point of view, but also we have some BACnet device that we will integrate also with this KNX boards. So we will use a different solutions to integrate. So let me start then with the KNX part. So I will turn off my camera now. That is not important to see me, and let's focus in this part. So now you can see the netxautomation.com web page, where you will find a lot of information, but we have to start just explaining a bit how why is important the BMS in this KNX integration. When you have a medium size or big size project, it's very important to understand why we need a BMS for this. So it's just 5 minutes explanation for you to understand. We have different scenarios when we are facing these KNX projects. You can see now the classical one with normal TP twisted pair couplers. So we have a TP lying in the backbone in this case, and in these classical projects or old projects, we may say, when we need to supervise these kind of projects, we have a lot of problems, a lot of troubles managing the traffic, because there is a limitation in terms of KNX technology that is for them, the driver that is available for connecting externally visualization software or whatever to a KNX installation is limited to one point connection. So this is called the Falcon drivers. This is a known solution for this, but this is limiting us to connect to only one point in the visualization. So if we need a central monitor, we need to let's say manipulate the filter tables using dummies or whatever way to do this. But at the end, we have a lot of problems in the backbone with the traffic in terms of bandwidth. There is a limitation on number of telegrams per second in a copper cable in KNX. That is a good number for a single line, but not so good when you have to join up all this traffic in one line. And the other big problem is the bottleneck that is that the couplers are suffering when the buffers of these couplers are getting a lot of traffic. So this is a known problem in KNX installations, but we have to handle this. And the way to do this is first to use IP routers. So IP routers is one important step, okay, because we will have a much more powerful backbone. It is the IP network, but it's not enough to use IP routers, because normally we can think about this single point connection for the visualization. We will still have one point connection, the Falcon driver, and this is forcing us to use the routing connection, the routing multicast service to do this solution for this visualization and control. And this is a limitation again, not because of the bandwidth, but because of the couplers bottleneck still there. So there is an issue with this bottleneck in the couplers. So there is one solution that seems to be the best for us, is instead of using the routing connection, using the tunneling connection, that is much more reliable and much more efficient. The problem is that when we use the Falcon driver, for example, using the ETS, we can only select one tunneling connection. So we can only access in principle to one single line. So this is the way that the BMS platform solution or solves this issue, because the BMS is handling this issue, offering us the possibility to connect up to 1,000 lines simultaneously using tunneling connections simultaneously. So this is solving us all these problems about communication. In terms of efficiency, is really, really huge and really reliable. So this is one of the best tricks or one of the best arguments to use a BMS, because if you have a massive project and you are using IP routers, that is the recommended solution from the KNX Association, okay, that's good, but it's not enough. We need an extra layer, that would say a software layer, for supervising everything, but in the best way, in the most reliable and efficient way. And this is the first approach for us, is to use this BMS platform that is handling all these simultaneous tunneling connections. So for this, and it's very important for the next step for us, this is guiding us how to do this integration, our ETS project in our BMS platform. So what the BMS platform needs from our point of view is a mapping of the data points that are behind all these hyperrouters. I mean, every single hyperrouter will have some traffic in terms of KNX telegrams or frames. All these frames, all these telegrams uh, will be using group address, okay, as a destination address. So we need to know which are these group address that are behind each tunneling connection. This is the mapping. I used to call this this way, the mapping of our ETS project. So it's very important to have this mapping, and we have a specific tool, a specific ETS app for free that you can download that we will use to export our ETS configuration, very easy way, very fast, to the BMS platform. So in terms of integration, the KNX technology, the KNX projects are integrated in a, let's say, semi-automatic way. So we need to do this exporting from ETS, but we will get a lot of information from our programming software, from our ETS software, directly to the BMS platform. So this is the aim of this first part of the training, is to show you how to do this in a specific example. So as I showed you before, we have 8 practical boards. In this image, you have sort of similar similar installation with 6, but now we have 8. And it's very important for you to understand that as we are using tunneling connection, all these lines or all these rooms, for example, in a hotel, are totally independent, okay? And from the BMS point of view, a data point is the sum of the tunneling IP address plus the group address. So this is opening us another scenario where the data points are uh, easy to handle in terms of organization. And also, it's very important to understand that we can maybe use a strategy like, let's say, programming exactly the same way all these parts of the building, exactly the same way. So using a very small ETS project instead of a big ETS project that you should think about now, we can do it in a very accurate and simplified way, because for the BMS, all these items in different lines will be, as you can see here, in different branches of the item tree. We will see this in practice, but one way to do these kind of projects is, okay, we have 8 or 500 different rooms, for example, in a hotel. I don't need to create a huge ETS project to integrate this all together in the final solution, because we are using a BMS on the top, and the BMS can recognize every single room because they will have a independent tunneling connection with a different IP address. So we can we can keep all these group address or the KNX programming and make them identical. Maybe you can have 2 or 3 kind of rooms, okay, or 4 or 5, or whatever, but we can simplify the project in this way. So because all these items will be part of different branches, so we can keep the group addresses. And in this way, we are in the fourth scenario. As we are only using tunneling connections, it's possible to avoid the use of the routing multicast. It's not necessary, really. And this is also opening different business opportunities. Because with the BMS platform and a proper IP infrastructure, for example, you can integrate 200 locals, 200 offices in different cities, or 500 restaurants or whatever. So it's not, you don't have to think about a big building to use a BMS. It could be several small installations like restaurants or like retail stores or like bank offices or whatever. It's not necessary to be a centralized, huge or big installation. It could be this way because we can access using a VPN, for example, to all these separated installations and using this tunneling connection. So uh, you can solve this kind of projects also with a BMS. Or for example, in a hotel, this helps to understand that with the BMS and a strategy where, for example, every single room is having an IP interface, IPS in terms of ABB terminology or reference. An IPS is enough. It's not necessary to use the IPR, no, the IP router. It's possible. It's not a problem. It was the last scenario, the previous one, scenario number 3, but it's also possible to use only IP interfaces. And this is the way we're going to do the practical part. So we have 8 identical programmings in the practical boards I have behind, and we will see how to do this export from the ETS very easy way and very fast. But we have to do 8 times the exporting from the app from the ETS, but it takes a very few minutes to do this, and then we can integrate all my infrastructure in the BMS in some minutes. So this is the first approach for this KNX integration, but it's very important for us to make you understand that without the BMS, you will have several problems to do this kind of massive projects because you will not have any tool to simplify your infrastructure, and then you will have several issues with the traffic in the backbone. If you need to upload all the traffic, all these telegrams in the same part of the installation. With the BMS, it's not necessary because the BMS is responsible to access directly using these tunneling connections. That is the most reliable service that we have in the KNX Net IP protocol, and we get all this information in real time. So this was the scenario number 4. So this is the layout of my practical boards that we are going to use. So as you can see, they have a different IP address. We are online with all these address. I have another additional device for BACnet, that BACnet IP with some inputs, outputs, and whatever. It's a Wago controller, so we will use this, and we will integrate, for example, the binary outputs, some of these binary outputs, to simulate in the rooms, like the do not disturb button and the makeup room button, for example. We will integrate this BACnet and KNX in the same data point structure, so you will see this during the practice. So this is more or less what we want to show you in this previous explanation. This presentation is finishing with our data, so it's not interesting now to lose time with this, but we will show you, or we can send you this document. It's available, and we can send you this presentation. So let's start again with my ETS. Okay, I have directly opened the ETS 6, last version of the software. And also we have installed, you can see in the panels, the NETx BMS App Secure. It's also here. This is the app that you need to download from my KNX account. It's for free, and you just have to install and license this app. And then what we have to do is just export this data. So as you can see, I have only one room in my project. This is the only thing that we have. There are some specific devices, including, well, not in real, but the DALI gateways are not here in the hotel, but for the training, I include 2 DALI devices from ABB. One is an old one, or more classic, let's say. It's DGS 1.1. It's the original DALI gateway. And the second is the premium version, the DGS 16451, so the DALI premium gateway. Both are different, but both are possible to integrate. We will see using our lighting management solution that it's called the lamps module. We will explain this tomorrow, but I have integrated the necessary configuration. I will deal about this tomorrow, but in resume, we have a ETS project, not so complex. It's just one room for a hotel, a push button, some outputs, dimming actuators, two of these, a LED driver also, blind actuator. It's not important. It's just we are just managing typical things that we have in a room, not HVAC devices, but it doesn't mind for our practice. Some lights and shutters and scenarios, and also an IP interface. This IP interface is not an IP router, it's an IPS device, so it's just for tunneling connection. So as you can see, it's not the 110 device in the line, it's not the coupler of the line, it's just a way to access from the BMS to my specific room. This is what we have in this example, okay? Just a tunneling device. Maybe we can use the app without this configuration, this device configured. It's possible also, but I have included in my project in order to show you how easy it is to do this export. Okay, so we have configuration for room 0101. So this means the first room of the first floor in my hotel, and I have to export this to use in the BMS. So two things to consider here. The most important is the IP interface configuration, the settings for this element. And it's very important, I will remark this, to use different name for this IP interface, because the BMS platform will use this name in the data point identification. So the ID of my data point will include the name of the router, the name of the gateway used for every single line, instead of the IP address. The IP will be behind, will be in background, the IP address, but the name is important to change it from room to room, because it's considered for the data point structure. So if we use the same name, the default name for this device, so if we use this default name, NETx KNX IP interface version 2, for example, this is a NETx automation device, it will be not good for the structure. So let me keep this. Okay, the IP address has to be a fixed IP address. This is the one for this first room. That's okay. And also another thing important, a part of the most important IPS configuration, it's also, but this is just specifically important for the lamps module that we are going to export information for this lamps lighting management module, is the building structure in terms of ETS. So the name of the room is necessary to change it, but it's only because we have DALI devices and because we are going to use the lamps module. If it's not present in the project, or not necessary to use the lamps module, this could be kept room, let's say X, doesn't mind, because the most important things are the IP address. But I will now export 8 times. I will do it very fast. 8 times this ETS project. Let's say we have to consider the project is finished in terms of ETS configuration, so we can export it. So then in my BMS App Secure, that is, I repeat, an app that you can install and acquire for free, to get it for free in the My KNX account, you just open this and select which software we're going to use. We're going to use the NETx BMS Platform, but it's also available for the previous version of the software and also for the multi-protocol server, that it's a light version of this BMS platform, but we are now explaining our complete solution, BMS platform. Very simple. Okay, this is taking the project prefix is the name of our ATS project. It doesn't mind. And as you can see in this app options, about KNX, we have different options to select. And about lamps. Lamps means this DALI device management. Okay, lamps. Okay, we will export all the information from lamps. And from KNX point of view, there is a minimum options. Minimum is the minimum options are, okay, we can export the information coming from our NETx IP routers or interfaces. That is the case for us. And the group addresses. This is what I called before the mapping of our items that are present in my ETS. So as you can see, we have, if I show you one device, group addresses configured for binary outputs, for example, scenes, central functions, status, whatever. So if we have a dimmer, we have also different group addresses, configuration. So all this information will be exported. Okay, the group addresses that are behind the specific line. Now, the presence detector is just for showing us the illuminance. It's not functional for other things. Other dimmer, for example, are my DALI devices that are not present physically in the installation, but it's just for controlling, for example, some lights. No, okay, but also has some configuration that will be explained tomorrow about the lamps model. So it's specific for the output for the DALI line. So this is what we have in our ETS project, and the minimum things to export are these group addresses and the IP information, the information from the IP routers, or in this case, IP interface. So just another options are, okay, device monitoring. This is very interesting. We can also monitor the physical address, the individual address. We will see. We can do a sort of supervision of the presence or absence of elements, of physical elements in the different lines. So we can detect if some device is out of the bus, disconnected for whatever reason, we can detect it. So you will see also this very interesting. The rest of the options, in my opinion, are not are excessive information. So it's this app is so powerful that you can even get not only the group address information that are configuring the devices. So when the BMS is sending information or getting information from each line, from each room, in this case, it is just taking information about the telegrams, the traffic. But imagine that the BMS can also handle um, or interact with all these devices without any information about the group addresses. Just directly attacking, let's say, directly contacting or modifying the values from the objects itself. So imagine we have a binary output, for example, and we can go to, if we get all this information in my ETS, we can go directly to the object, specific object for output number 3, and just say, okay, I want this output to turn on and off. I don't need to know what are the group addresses behind this object. It's possible also to do this, but this what it means is that we will have much more information, a massive amount of objects, instead of the real necessary group addresses to manage this object. So we can export all this information. Maybe we can do it. For example, topology view or buildings view, that is even more clear for us. It's just a room and whatever. But I will repeat, it is a lot of information that is really not strictly necessary, because we will have the mapping of the group addresses, and as integrators, we will know much better what we have done with our group addresses than how are the object structure from the device point of view, because this is more related to the manufacturer. But maybe we can just for the show, for the training, to export, for example, the buildings view. that's okay. So as an extra information, we will do this. Maybe we can delete this information afterwards in the BMS platform. But this is very simple. We have my ETS project, I have my ETS project, and I will now export. And this export process will be really easy because no interrupts. This is just seconds to get information from this room. I did yesterday for the first room. As you can see here, there is one specific file for this, but I will repeat. I want to have this room 0101. This is the name for my file. Okay, I save it in documents, for example. I will replace it. And now I just have to do it for every single room. For if the programming is exactly the same, I just take this, change the number of the room, change the number of the IP gateway, and change the IP address. So I will get say export, and I get the file for the next room. And if you have 500 rooms, you will be thinking now, okay, if I have 500 rooms, it will take me a lot of time to do this. Yes, maybe, but I will show you that it's not strictly necessary to do this 500 times, because the BMS can handle information very easy using, now change the IP, using Excel files. So it's possible to do it also in a very fast way using Excel, for example, inside the BMS. But I will do it as an example for you manually this way. So now I am facing the fourth room. So it's just change the name of the room. I repeat, because of the lamps module, but the most important thing to change is the IP gateway name and IP address. That is a fixed value, and it's important to get it well. So I have now room 0202, half of the way. And then let's go for room 0301. I have to be in order because if I get lost, it's not a good thing to show. 0301. And then now it's the finish line is near and near. This one, we get a message you can now import in the BMS. Okay, thank you. But I haven't finished. 0302. And then I get this information. So this is a way to do the job very easy in terms of ETS, and maybe it's a bit more, let's say, boring in the terms of BMS platform, but it will help a lot to do the work this way. So as Paul said before, it's important to have a clear structure in order to make the work faster and much better. So now finishing with the fourth. Okay, this is room 0401. And the last one. Okay, I promise to do it fast. So 0402 is the last one, and then I export to documents folder. That is the most easy way to do it, because as you will see now, it will go directly to this folder from the BMS platform. So export successfully finished. This is what we get here. You can now import the export file, well, files in this case, 8 of these. Open NETx Core Studio and select the menu KNX, import, and then restart the platform. So it's very easy for us to do this. We can maybe close this ETS 6 because our job here has finished. And now I will open a BMS platform. So I will show you, we have here some, this is the NETx Core Studio, but there are some icons here. After you install the BMS, you have the Core Studio, that is what we are going to use. And then we will see tomorrow Web Manager, but we can access directly from the Core Studio to the Web Managers, not a problem, not necessary to have an icon for this, but also the visualization editor. So visualization editor will be the last part of the training about this visualization. The visualization runtime will be the icon that you get to your customer. But for us, it's most important to addition of this. So Core Studio is open now, already open, and I will show you. This is my Core Studio. I will open a new, create a new workspace now from scratch. The workspace name will be, for example, the date of today, 2025, 0610, and ABB, South East Asia, for example. So this workspace, this Core Studio, let's say, is the engine of our BMS platform. It's where we can handle the data points that we will use in the future with our web management for alarms, reports, trendings, events, calendars, all these things. And also, of course, is the engine for our front-end visualization and control solution. So it's very important because we can make, let's say, magic with this part. We can relate, we can link the data points from many different sources, protocols, standards, as you will see. Only a few examples today, but you will see how easy we can do this. And for my first practice, we have a KNX menu here. You can see also BACnet and Modbus as an SNMP, GridVis, whatever, HTTP. So several protocols directly here, but many others directly in the modules. I will explain this, but you have a lot of possibilities to integrate different kind of standards, and it's not limited to this. This is also very important. Our BMS platform is ready to integrate whatever protocol you may need, even for example, for hotel management or for door lock systems, or there are several native drivers, let's say. The most important, of course, in building automation today is KNX, BACnet, and Modbus, maybe, but we can also integrate, for example, MQTT. This is one driver that we have also here. MQTT is IoT devices, but it's also possible. But we can also integrate from HTTP and API, for example. API REST data points are also possible to integrate. So it's not just related to the real important standards from today, but also for the future. Is ready for the future. Is prepared to integrate any kind of data points coming from whatever kind of protocol, because as Paul says before, NETx Automation is a software company, and software is flexible, and we are flexible to integrate this solution. So very easy. Now we have to focus on KNX. Remember, we had exported several files from our 8 rooms, different rooms, but with identical configuration. It was a single ETS project, so no tricks here. You have seen that the same project has served us we have used this same project for all the rooms. So KNX menu, and then we will see that after importing all these tables, object definition table, gateways, Telegram, that is the group address, device that are the individual address, etc., will be filled with all this information. But now I will show that these tables are empty. Just it's like a magician, nothing here, nothing here. So nothing in my configuration tables because we have started from the scratch a new workspace. Workspace, ABB Southeast Asia, okay. Devices, group address, empty. Nothing here, and nothing here. Okay, this is empty. This is nothing, we can say, nothing. And there is a last group alias that has something, but it's not just testing things, nothing. I can delete everything, save all this. It's empty, okay? From KNX, it's empty. So now I will do the job of importing my 8-room configuration. So it's very easy. Just open KNX and select import NETx ETS app file. Okay. We get a message here. Remember to restart the core servers to apply changes. Yes, thank you. I know. And then the dialog for importing is very easy to understand. I will select these files, for example, the one each one by one. I have to do it one by one. If you decide to do this way, because I told you we can import, for example, 1 or 2 rooms and then use the Excel. I will show you what I mean in a few minutes, using Excel to edit these copy pasting strategies, using copy pasting strategies to do the job. But in this case, there are only 8 rooms for our example, so I will do it this way. First thing to think about, are we going to replace everything or to update everything? It's very important. If we select replace always, I will delete with the second file the first information imported with the first one. So it's maybe possible to use replace option for the first importing, but for the next ones, we will select update. So we can select update now, because update means I will add information to the information you have. But if you select replace, I will delete everything and then put the new information. So for the first importing, okay, it could be replaced, but we have to think that for the next 7 importing files will be update necessary. And also the second thing to think about is, okay, are you going to import KNX data only, or are you going to import the LAMPS data from the ETS app? Okay, I can do it now, but explain tomorrow, because but I will have the information now here. So I will import everything. In the first approach, I will replace when I import, but in the next 7 imports, I will select update. So first, file, okay, it's going to documents, open, start, and it's milliseconds, so it takes nothing. It's finished successfully in really not big time. But remember, now update, selecting the next rooms. Okay, this one, finished, next. And then 0202. So it takes seconds. And then 3rd floor. And then next one. And then the last floor. If you do a single project, ETS, with a complex topology, you have to do this only once, of course. But I think we get advantage of the BMS using this strategy. But this is optional. You can decide what to do every time. So now just restart the server. So we have 2 options. We start online or in simulation. As I have connection to my practical boards, I will start online. And let's check was stopped, the server. So if I start, the server is creating the item tree and starting all the services, all the processes. It takes some time for the starting, some seconds. Also depends on the power of your computer, but it's only a few seconds. But as I can see, in KNX driver, we have all the rooms here online. And the XIO, this is the item tree, okay, as I showed you briefly before. I have my native drivers, that it means the XIO branch. Then I have a KNX, okay, by default. Only Cloud Connector and HTTP, but now I have KNX. And here I have my 8 branches, and every single branch has group addresses identical. So I show you, for example, 1/1/1 is the control of one light, for example, in this. And now here, if I show you the next room, 1/1/1, it's exactly the same group address, but in a different branch and behind a different IP address. You see here the IP addresses here. So it's very interesting to see how we can get all this information. And if I show you the different folders, the different menus, gateways, for example, after importing 8 times, so you can see here also the historical of this in comment mode generated, but also updated 7 times, you get all this information. All these IP interfaces are using, for example, in this case, native KNX Net IP tunneling, but also ready for secure KNX Net IP tunneling. So it's not important if it's a non-secure or a secure device. It will be also exported. If it's a secure device, you will have authentication, whatever, but it is also possible. Even routing, but routing is not normally not used. Okay. So this is my gateway definitions file, so I don't have to change anything. But it's also important, the IP or the ID of every single data point is considering the name of the IP, not the IP address. So if you change, for example, the range of the addresses, or you have to change these IP addresses, is not a problem, because the only thing to do is to come here to this table and change these values. That's it. So it's very simple and easy. Then I will not do any change. I can show you other tables. So as you can see, for example, Telegram definitions. This is the mapping. I used to say before, mapping of this group address in every single IP, using the name of the gateway for this. So this is all this, the first are from room 0101, but if I show you here behind, we have a lot of group addresses for the different rooms. So a lot of. And this table, okay, we'll finish to show up to. This table is showing us that we are using about 700 data points for these 8 practical ports. There's a lot of information from DALI or from lights and shutters or whatever. 800 data points in KNX, for example, for group address. This table is important to configure. So now I will finish in a few minutes now, but we have to continue in the next session because now we have 15 minutes break. But I just going to show you device definition, for example, the next table. And it's important, this detail. This is in gray color, as you can see, because they are not active. They are in commented mode. But we can change this. We can select and convert to definition. So this is very important. We can wake up, let's say, this individual address also mapped behind this. So it's important, maybe we can order by description, because, for example, the polling time, it's now 10 minutes, but for example, for push buttons, I can change this to 10 seconds. I will show you after the break this. And now, just to show you that this is working fine, before the break, just to show you. For example, room 0101, I will start the camera. Is a button left, for example. Let me try to show you better this. Okay, you can see better. I have here in the item tree, for example, in group address, well, lights. I can turn on, for example, this light. Send telegram is possible, so just press this send telegram, and then you can interact. For example, turn on with 1 bit, and you can turn on a light, for example, turn off the light, and this dimmer is always giving me this option. But also there is a central function, main function, for example. For this, I have a central off that I can turn on all the lights for this board. This is possible also. So I have control for my practical boards. Information is coming from the ETS, and of course, not only this, I can select whatever kind of the last room, for example. It is, well, I can do also this here and select changing the IP with the same group address. I am controlling the last one. So it's not necessary to have a big ETS project. We can have a small one and then integrate this. So I will now, we will do a break in 15 minutes. We start again if you want. Suankar, it's okay for you, and because breaks are also important for you.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a break, and
Okay.
also requesting all participants, you can try to install the software in your computer so that you can follow Julio the steps he is doing. I have shared in the chat box the link to download the software. You have to do a one-time registration because as and when we progress with more sessions, I think if you keep trying the steps as Julio is doing on your own computer with the software in front of you, it will be extremely useful. So
Yeah.
let's break for 15 minutes now, and let's remain online. No need to log off.
Yeah.
And we see you in 15 minutes, and you can try to activate your software also in the meantime.
Okay.
Thank you. See you in 15 minutes, all of you.
Yes.
Thanks, Julio.
Thank you. So we can now start this second part of the day, finishing the KNX configuration, showing you how we can improve all this configuration. We have seen in the first session how easy it is to import everything. We have seen even how we that we have control of elements. We can not only see the 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 not only control the lights, but also we will see that the status of the lights is also available here. So I have turn on or turn off all the lights, so we can maybe take a look on these specific group addresses that are 1/4, for example. So we have a status of the lights. All the lights are off. And as you can see here, there are some items in green color, some items in red color. This is also interesting to understand now. The quality of the item is represented by these colors. Quality means that, for example, in terms of status of the lights, we know that the lights is off because, and we know that this information is valid because it's green color. Why the other items are in red color? Because there nothing happened to these items. But if I just, for example, force a value here to this first on off light, one room, whatever, just an on, for example, this is now in green color because the quality of the item is good. We know what is happening to this independently of the value. It could be false or true, it doesn't mind, but it's the quality of the item is good. So it's important to understand that, for example, the status of the lights, in this case, for this first gateway, are in green color because there have been some changes. So there have been some telegrams in this line, and the BMS have recognized these telegrams. But if I take a look, for example, in other rooms, like for example this one, and I go to lights of this room and on-off status, no changes, no status. So it's important now to understand that I need to know how all the lights how are what is the status of every single light, how to do this. And this is now the most important thing, and very fast I will try to be fast to show you this. The Telegram definitions table is the most important from my point of view, because the most the biggest number of data points is this. And as you can see, the mapping of the data points is the two first columns, group address and the IP address represented by the name of the gateway where this group address is subordinated to, priority to sending this whatever
Julio, we have a trouble with your audio, looks like. We are not able to hear you. The sound went bad. Just check your microphone once, please.
Okay, maybe it's better now.
Yes, it is better, but earlier it was better. It was more clear and crispier.
And now it's
Yes, now it is back to normal again. Thank
so
you.
sorry for this, but you can interrupt me if
Yes, I will.
issues happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe you have to just repeat the last
Yeah.
1 minute you
Okay.
said, because we lost the connection in between. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for this. Some issues always happens.
Yes, no
I
problem.
was telling you about this status or the quality of the items. Okay, so in terms of KNX, it's important to get the quality of the, for example, the status of the lights from the beginning. So we need to configure a bit this Telegram definitions table. And I was telling you, okay, the basic things are the mapping of the group address and the IP that are subordinated to, but also we have more columns, priority, whatever, the data size. This is coming from ETS. The data type is also important. For example, the data type normally should be correct from ETS exporting, but we can maybe face some issues. For example, if there is a group address that is a percentage, the data point should be scaling. This is very important also because if it's not scaling, if it's, for example, a data point like this, value 1, you count, this means a unsigned integer of 1 byte. The value will be not from 0% to 100%. The interpretation from the BMS point of view is, okay, the value can be from 0 to 255, not in percentage. So if you use in the future a slider, for example, a graphical element, and you do the range of this slider from 0 to 100, this will not be representing the percentage. This will be just representing one part of the scale of this dimmer, for example. This is the dimming control. So it's important. This is important. This important to have this data point correctly. But sorry, it's not a big issue because because we can work with all this data in Excel file. I will show you now. But also, and finishing this example, the column that you can see here, read on Reconnect, is critical for us. It's really important to manage this read on Reconnect column even if it's interesting for us, we can, from the BMS, read cyclically whatever item with a interval in seconds. So this is the number that we can put here. But the most important column, in my opinion, is this read on reconnect. And this is a very important detail. It's not read on init. It's not a question of, okay, I start the BMS and then I do several red telegrams. I send from the BMS red telegrams when I start the BMS, not only when I restart the BMS. If I lose connection in one specific gateway, in one specific part of the installation, when this gateway is recovered, it will be read on this part. So it's when the connection is again recovered on this part, it will read on reconnect of this part. So it's not only for the starting of the server, but also in runtime, wherever part of the installation loses connection and restart connection again, we will get this read on in order to refresh the information coming from this element. So it's very easy to send this file to Excel. I will do this pressing this button, for example. So NX Telegram definition, I have some folder for our training that we can share afterwards with some files of this, as you can see. But this is the Telegram definitions. Okay, I can save it here, and I will try to open it in Excel. Let me open here. Sorry, I will open another window to not disturb you with all these things. So it's here and here and here, and I'm just opening this file in Excel.
Julio, we have a issue with the audio again.
Here,
Now, yes, now it's back.
okay, sorry. It's because I don't know why the headset is not working properly sometimes, and but it's okay. We can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now it is okay.
So I was telling you that we have this file, and then we can, we can filter, maybe do some filtering. We can do, okay, let me create a filter for every single column, very easy in Excel. And for example, we can select, okay, let me check the data types. Is there any data type that is like this one? This is the things that I normally check. There is also the possibility to filter by percentage, for example. This is one thing that I always do. And this is real. I have a lot of data points badly configured. I did it voluntarily to show you this. Okay, these set points or whatever hasn't the right data point. It should be 001. And now what I can do is double click and correct this. So this is very important. Okay, now I will filter and I will select everything. So this data type is okay. And then you can check and check and check if it's necessary, whatever data point that you may need. For example, 7001 is also strange because normally we use 2 byte in different way. So, okay, that's a problem. This is temperature shouldn't be 7001, it should be 9001. And this is not a problem if you do the work in ETS, but I'm just showing you that we can, sorry, 9001. We can solve this very easy if you do it well. And of course, another thing that we can do is read on reconnect. We have temperatures. Instead of F from false, just put T from true. I want to read on reconnect. For example, these temperatures, I'm do it 2 things in one shot. But for this read on reconnect, we can filter. For example, selecting not this column, sorry, description. Selecting specific words like, okay, status. Okay, if you have some status word in a data point, this is a typical thing that you should read on reconnect. And you may now be thinking, okay, why don't you put read on reconnect in every single data point? It's not a problem. It could be a problem because if you select the 700 items and select read on reconnect, when you start the BMS, you will get a lot of telegrams and you will get only a few responses from these telegrams because it makes sense to send red telegrams to KNX if you have a red flag in the objects that you are going to read. So many of these items are not to be read and not ready to answer because they don't have the red flag in the object in KNX. So we should be professionals and be ready to filter by names, for example, temperatures or luminosities or whatever. Temperature, I have done this before. Temperature, okay, this will be read on reconnect or some other specific things like luminosity, luminance, for example, that is coming from the detectors. Okay, we can also select this. So this is a list of words that you should have to do this work, this job. Okay, select. For example, let me check. Fault, for example, is another word. Fault for DALI. So there is a lot of things that we should read. This part from DALI is not really necessary because we will have the LAMPS module to do this. So, but it's interesting to have this information updated. So this is my file. I can eliminate the filter and I will not touch anything, but as you can see, several of these items have true or other are false. The data points have been checked. So let's say that we have a good configuration. I will save this, and then it's very easy. Just take this button and take from Excel my Telegram definitions, and I have this configuration here. So I am able to restart the server. That is very important. And then, as you will see in this top right screen, Telegram monitor, you will see after restarting the server that there are several telegrams with the tag read and response telegrams. So different kind of telegrams, because before there was only write telegrams, but now we will have read and response telegrams here in the monitor. The Telegram monitor will show us all this activity. And we will get the status of the lights, for example. Now you can see read and response very fast here in the top right window. And if I check in my item tree, what I didn't get before, now it's ready. For example, I select whatever room, 202, the lights and the on-off status. And I get information because I have selected all the status to be read. Status on-off and value status for the dimmers, for example, are now red color. The controls are in green color, sorry. The controls are in red color because I haven't sent any telegram from the BMS, or nobody has sent a telegram to control, but the status are ready. So one of the questions before was why I cannot see the status of a light? Maybe because you didn't select this read on reconnect for this element, okay? So this is the configuration from KNX Telegram definitions. That is very easy. And also device definitions that was also considered. So about the device definition, I will show you that we have to restart the server and save this table. I will restart again. and I will show you how we can monitor also the devices. Okay. Start again the server for monitoring the individual addresses. So we can finish in a few minutes the KNX integration. That is really simple. So the only thing is, okay, Telegram definitions, two things, data points, DPTs, so to be accurate in the ETS configuration to select the right DPTs, so you can avoid the time lost in the BMS part, and also what to read on reconnect. It's important also for the BMS. So my item tree now will show me in KNX for each branch the individual address. Is now asking if the device are true or not. And as you can see, the BMS is detecting my push button, my binary actuator. All these elements are in true color, and it's not detecting the DALI. On evidence, DALI gateways are not real devices in my installation. So after a few time, you will see this in green color, but with value false. So it will be clear that these devices are not present in the installation. This timeout to determine if the device are here or not are 30 seconds by default, but it could be also configured. So I will wait a bit, but maybe I can show you other branch devices, and you can see, because the screen is big, that again, all the devices are here, are present, we are online, but the DALI gateways will be green in a few seconds, but in false value. So we can monitor devices. This is very important. Now the polling time was configured in 600 seconds for all the devices except the push button. So I can maybe 302. Okay, I will turn on the camera now and we show you some special thing. Okay, 302 device. I will take the push button from the board, so you will see how the BMS is evaluating. It will be this item here. Now it's in true value. Okay, as you can see, also the DALI gateways are now green color in the first branch, but false value because they are not present in the boards. But I will show you if I take out of the bus how this system is reacting. So give me 5 seconds. It's still true, the value is still true, but in few seconds, because the polling is every 10 seconds and some retries, it will come to red color. Quality is not good. So the server is saying, okay, something is happening to this element. And after the 30 seconds mentioned before, it will become green again. Now it's okay. You can see something is happening with the push button. And after a few seconds, it will become green again, but false. So we will be able to monitor this, for example, creating an alarm or doing whatever representation of these items in the visualization. So it's not only visualization, it's not only to represent status of lights or temperatures or whatever graph charts with these things. These elements are also items for us. So we can have as an item group addresses, individual addresses, and the gateway itself. So the gateway, it's also an item for us. Here, the gateway is a value that can be monitored also. So, and this will be in green color and false value. Now you can see it. This is false now, but green.
Julio, your audio is bad again. Just,
Okay.
yes, now it's okay.
Okay. So I was telling you that this value is becoming now true. In a few seconds, you will be that the device is again recognized here. So this item now is true. So it's working very fine. It's working really nice. Okay. So we can monitor group address, individual address, and the gateways itself. And all these elements are considered for the uh, license, no? The number of data points that are considered for the license. And the last thing to explain about KNX is the broadcast driver. This is the last thing I will explain. Only a few small example. I have one group address that is common in all the rooms. I can, as you have seen, I have a central off. I will show you here again. Main function group address. I mean, for the lights, and there is a central off of all the lights for this room. So it is configured. I can send a telegram, for example, one, as shown before. I turn on the lights of this room. Okay. But as another example, I have a central off lights of all the rooms. But I have a problem. We only have tunneling connection. So we can connect to this or this or this or this, but only one by one. So the BMS can put whatever telegram, but only using one connection, one tunneling connection. So how to do or make an order to all the boards? It's possible using the broadcast driver. So it's broadcast driver. It's a possibility here. So for example, if I order these group addresses, the address 010 is this one, central off lights for all the rooms. Okay, if I, for example, I can copy paste and do it this way, but what I am going to do is say I will not use these 7 definitions, and for this one, instead of room 0101, I will say this is broadcast. Okay, so I'm saving, restarting the server, and show you how this works. And then we can start with BACnet. It takes time to explain the things, and we are optimistic, thinking that 1 hour is enough, but we need more time. But it's okay, we are on time, because the last part is very easy to explain. So we will stop this session at 7:15 and give 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time for the next and more questions or whatever. Okay, I'm restarting again the server, and I get this KNX. But now in broadcast, we have a group address. Okay, and if I say, oh, let's send one, and then magic is done. We don't have really a routing connection, but with the BMS, we have the power to send on simultaneously to all this and off. Okay, there is a dimmer that it takes time to turn off, but it will turn off. But this is the broadcast driver to use it. Of course, if you have 200 retail stores, the broadcast is not really interesting to use. It's not interested to turn on all the stores at the same time. Every store has independency. So, but the tool is here and we can use it. So KNX is very easy to handle. We have tables, group address tables, telegram definitions are even individual address definitions, or gateway definitions, etc. There was a table that I didn't show you, the object definitions. Okay, we have object definitions, but as I told you, it's a massive amount of information that you will find here. 800 objects, and in our item tree you can find it per every single room. Oh, sorry, we can find it here: ETS, buildings, NETx Online, the different rooms. And this is a different way to see it. If, for example, you go to this device, you have the output channel, for example, and then you can write a value, and this is status now, or maybe send a scene, and you can also interact using these things, but it's not normally the way that we work. Or if you want, this is the LED driver, so you have the objects for this. So it's possible to send a value like 0% to the dimmer, for example. So you can also control from this point of view using the objects that you can find in the ETS. But in my opinion, this is an excessive amount of information, and for us as integrators, it's much more clear to use group addresses and individual addresses as usual. So, but it's possible also to use this. If you don't want to use these object definitions, you can just select this file and put everything in commented mode. So it's possible to select everything. Fast and say, okay, convert to comment. Not, you don't have to delete it, just convert to comment, and then it will be released from the list of data points. I will not restart the server because I'm going to stop the server now. Okay, because I go to BACnet now. We are going to change to the next protocol. It's a very important protocol. It's BACnet. So it's in the list of things to explain. BACnet integration. For this, I have this Wago device. I can show you in the camera. It's here, so it's easy to show you. Sorry. This is the device that we shown before. We have this cable just to simulate that we are pressing whatever input. No, it's an input here or here, okay, or input number 3 or input number 4, but any kind of input can be bridged with this cable, but that's okay. We have inputs and outputs also to control in BACnet. So I will show you, closing this table, how to integrate also BACnet. But the question from BACnet is that we need to stop the server because we can be a BACnet client. This is the example I'm going to show you. But we could be, as a BMS, we could be a BACnet server also for a third-party BACnet clients. So imagine a project where the visualization is obligatory to be used in another software. Visualization is another software and is obligatory in BACnet, for example. But we are required to serve all our KNX data points, or not only KNX, but also whatever kind of protocols that we can integrate in our BMS, but we have to map it into BACnet. This is also possible and very easy. But the first example is we need to take information from BACnet devices, and the BMS will be a client for these BACnet devices. So as a client, we need to explore, or there is a possibility to explore our network. Okay, so we have a BACnet Explorer, very interesting and powerful, but we have to stop our server to be able to explore, because as we can be a client and also a server, if we have opened the server, we could be reading ourselves. So it's not interesting this, and so we have to stop, and then we can start Explorer. If you have started the server, you will not see available the Start Explorer window. So what we get is here a dialog, my BACnet Explorer, okay, my server workspace is this, and then, okay, what to do? We want to search for BACnet devices and their objects, or it's possible also to import the EDE files. Okay, EDE files is a specific files from BACnet manufacturers that can give you all this configuration in EDE files. Offline, we can say, okay, I don't have access to the installation, but the integrator from the HBAC part or whatever has sent me the EDE files. Okay, fantastic. I can import it. But now we will do online, and we will overwrite, for example, overwrite or update. This is the same concept as we have seen before. We have nothing in BACnet now, but we will include this. So next, and then there is just a warning. Okay, there is a default IP for your server, the local BACnet address. This is the IP, or should be the IP of the client or that is reading the network. This is a local host. It's not valid. Please select a correct one. So say, okay, no problem. I will select. What are the possibilities? There is only one IP in my computer, but maybe you will have in other computers several IP address, because it's possible to configure different IP network or whatever, or you have different network cards. But in this case, it's only one, so it's very easy to select. And then we can scan. And if I scan, I find two devices now. I have to press again one device that I have at my home, recognizing some objects that are spotted, but now I am interested in this device that is my Wago device. Okay, I can select both, and then it's taking information from these devices. For example, from the Wago device, binary inputs, a lot of, like 52, from 0 to 51, binary outputs, but also the binary outputs are duplicated, because these binary outputs, as you can see here, are not available to be controlled by the BMS, are just internal, controlled by the PLC PRG, say from the Wago BACnet device. So we have to, I had to implement in the PLC controller BACnet objects for being controlled. Well, this is just an internal thing from the Wago device, but as you can see, we have a lot of items to control. And then the other device is just, well, it's in Spanish, but it's just some items from the powers or ABB electrical vehicle charging station I have here, a Terra, ABB Terra 7 kilowatts, for example, but it's interesting for you to show how to get this information from a Modbus that is converted to BACnet from another device. It came from Modbus, but is converted to BACnet, and we can read it here. So, okay, I will add everything. I am asked to select the writing priority. In BACnet, there is an array for writing objects. Well, by default, it's 15 value, but we can configure also the COB change on value type, by default unconfirmed, and the polling interval, that is also important. Every 5 seconds, we will check everything. Say okay, and then go next. We have my devices, two devices, okay, my Wago BACnet device and some elements coming from my home, one specific device to convert to BACnet. Go next. A resume of data points, no, objects in BACnet from this or that device. Okay, next. Then a resume of devices and objects, and finished. So BACnet is really easy. If you have online access to your BACnet devices, you can see that importing devices and BACnet objects are really easy. It's not complicated at all. And in this BACnet table, what I am just going to do is, okay, these binary output objects are not really necessary. So these 32 objects or 36 objects are not interesting for me. So I will delete it in this case because I have my objects here. My objects are here. So write priority can be configured here. Okay, can be configured here, and this is the information from other elements. So I can just change to English there, or maybe just hide. Whatever, you can change here the texts. If there is some issue with whatever, you can change here. It's in Spanish, but it's just powers and whatever. Polling interval 5 seconds, so it's not necessary to return reconnect because every 5 seconds we will get the value. It's a different strategy. KNX is a protocol using events, working by event, and BACnet is a polling protocol. It's a client or server client or master slave protocol. So we can save all these changes, and then we can start to see what is happening in BACnet. So it's interesting. Take a look on this in BACnet. So after the restarting the server, you will see that we have two protocols now. We have KNX and BACnet. And this is very interesting also because I will show you something. KNX, okay, and BACnet, two devices. Okay, I will show you first my BACnet. That's not a problem. A binary input, 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3 are these inputs. I will show you again the camera here down. Okay, binary input 0. It's false, and now it's true. The value has changed to true, and now to false. Binary input 1, the second one, I can activate and deactivate. Okay, the third one is the binary input number 2, and the fourth one, binary input number 3. So we have this information. And also, as you can see, binary outputs are coming from this card and all these cards. Binary outputs are these ones. So I can just go also to find these objects, for example. And when there's a binary output, we have different things. The status is one specific item. The writing object in this priority, because if we select another priority, it will be prior 8, prior 10, or whatever. And then I can write an item value, for example, for the first output. So you will see if I select the value, this item is control. So say 1, and I can control. So that's very easy. Write item value, and then I can control also the BACnet objects using this, and I turn off. And this is interesting. Okay, two protocols. But the most interesting thing is that we can also interact between these protocols. For example, imagine, okay, I want this binary input to link it with whatever KNX object. For example, just a short example and very spectacular. This binary input maybe can be linked with this broadcast telegram. So what we can do is to virtual link, that is when I drag and drop one item to another, I am doing a virtual link between these two items. If I say okay, I am creating a new table. Extensions menu has a lot of things that we will see, but one of the tables are the vlink definitions, and it is created live. So it's created, drag and drop, and I create this definition. This is the source item, okay, and this is the destination item. That's good. Just save this, and I will show you that if this binary input 0 takes value 1, then it writes a 1 value to the other object, that is the broadcast. So all the lights are on, and if I release the cable, input 1 is false, it goes to off. So it's really interesting how we can, now this is a useless example, but it's just for you to show, it's just to show you how easy it is to relate items directly. So I will put the camera again in the right position. Okay, so it's very easy. This input is turning on or off with this BACnet object, just as an example. Extensions, virtual link definitions can also be filled using Excel, like whatever other table. But if I don't want to use this more, I convert to comment. So I deactivate this functionality. So now if I do this, let me show you. Now it's not doing anything. It's not working. So vlink definition is the first approach to relate any kind of item in my BMS. That is interesting sometimes, but very basic. So BACnet is really easy. And then, for example, if you want to see what is the power, total power in my house is 287 watts, for example, but in the kitchen is only 42, an external part, whatever, lights and plugs 220, no power in the electrical vehicle or in the aerotherm, the HVAC is not wasting any batt and all these things. So it's just information. The question is that it is not a writable item because it's a binary value, analog value. So it's like a writable item, but it's not possible to write this. So it's a limit for the Terra charging station. Now it's 0 watts and whatever. So we can get information in BACnet from different devices. That's very interesting. Okay, so BACnet is another protocol we can integrate, but very easy to do this because we can do it directly reading from the network. So it's very interesting. And the last one will be HTTP. So I will show you in 1 minute, very easy, how to do this. But let me just open HTTP, and I will close the camera because it's not interesting to see myself, but the things I am explaining are much more interesting. So HTTP data point definitions, HTTP resource definitions are two folders, but I am directly show you from Excel. I will import these files that I have already prepared for you, data point definitions, and I will show you how this works. No, I don't want to restart the server. And resource definitions, again, a table that is already prepared to show you. Yes. And let me show you this. Okay. First, I will show you the result, and then I will explain how to get this result. I am just taking information from a free website that is giving me in an API format, and this case in JSON format, JavaScript, a specific structure from weather information. Okay, so I copy this URL to show you first how it looks like in a browser. So what I'm getting is this information. Okay, I have a specific JSON plugin in my computer, so you can get this information. AP open has meteo.com. So if I just go to open meteo.com, you can do it by yourself. There's a free weather API, and this is just explaining you everything, how to do this, and weather forecast API, you go to this, and then you can select whatever you want to take from this API and get an URL. This is the only thing. You can get a URL. So, for example, this one. This is a URL. So I will show you again what I get, for example. And this is very easy to, well, this is empty because nothing. Oh, okay, for example, temperature at 2 meters, whatever. I don't have information, but because this is not configured, it's just selected without any information or whatever. But in my case, I selected information interesting for me, and I got all this information. For example, temperature is very interesting. This value, I am interested in getting this value in my BMS. This is what I'm going to do, what I have done in fact. So this data structure is in JSON, okay? So what I have to do is to use resources and define, for example, the name of the resources are freely configured. Level 1, for example, in JSON, because it's also possible to use XML or URL encoded and formatted data or whatever, but JSON is very typical. And then, well, the format is $.key 0 close key. This is a first level approach of the data. In a second level, we can find another information, but this is the format. Level 2. What I am telling you about the levels, and I will finish the explanation, because some things are in the first level, like latitude, for example, this value could be taken, and other things are in a second level. For example, this current, temperature 2 meters, it's a second level because it's in current values, and inside this in temperature 2 meters. So this is the reason why I need level 1 or level 2 or level 3 or whatever. And in the data point definitions, it's very simple. For example, the temperature, we only have to fill this table with the different things we want to get, for example. So temperature, okay. The path, in which folder? And folder called weather. I did it. It's a float value, because it could be a float or a string or a signet integer or whatever. Okay, only readable. The polling URL is exactly the same for all this data, same URL. And then, okay, a polling interval that has to make sense to you. For example, every 15 minutes, it's in milliseconds. So 900,000 milliseconds is 900 seconds. So it means 15 minutes. And then here you can see level 1, level 2. So this is related to the resource. And then, okay, if I want to get information for the temperature 2 meters that is inside the current values, I just have to say current, temperature 2 meters. And what I get is this. I need to restart the server, yes. So I will do it now and then show you this HTTP as a result. So after restarting, you will see information from HTTP, and then we can stop 15 minutes for the facing the last session of today. But it's really interesting because what we get is data points again. So I can, tomorrow we can get this data point and do a graphic of the external temperature, for example, or the humidity or the wind direction. It's like a weather station, but for free. It is not good for ABB, I guess, because you may want to sell a weather station, no problem. Normally we need these weather stations for sure, but we should get this information. You get this information. Now I have my temperature is now 15.4. Okay, the elevation is whatever. The precipitation today is 0 millimeters. The maximum today will be 26.1. The apparent temperature now is this, the real this, sorry. Elevation, longitude, is it day, yes or no. Relative humidity, 99% here in Asturias. 100% cloud cover, the wind speed, the latitude, the wind direction, for example. This is very interesting. And also the forecast. You are getting forecast. Maximum temperature in 3 days, tomorrow, in 4 days, in 5 days. So you can see the evolution will be, okay, average, not bad. We have a good temperature here. It is the maximum temperature. So imagine that in 4 days it will be 18 degrees, the maximum in June. But this is my region. Okay, it's cloudy, not rainy today, but we get this for free from a weather forecast API served by a specific website. And this is very simple to understand: data point and resource definitions. And you can get this URL very easy from this website. So, and Subankar, I think it's finished this second session, so we can maybe
Yes.
all another 15 minutes break until 7:35 maybe for the last one.
Okay, sure. So, session.
Yes, okay, I was restarting the recording, so now it's recording again. You will find the video. Maybe we can share the Dropbox, Subankar, tomorrow. A Dropbox with all these examples,
Mhm.
the workspace that I am now creating, and all these things can be shared with you. So it's the presentation also, or whatever material that you would like to include, Subankar, just send to me, and I will include it, and I can share tomorrow
Hmm.
in the chat the Dropbox link.
Hmm.
Or maybe I can give it everything to you, and maybe from our colleagues in Austria, they can create a specific folder and
Yes.
share it from themselves. The thing is more clear if they do
Okay.
directly, so we can manage, no problem. But we have to finish today training with this third stint. The third part
Yes.
of the training is going to be about how to manage all these items in a proper way. So it's very
Hmm.
important because
Yes.
we have to prepare the work for the tomorrow and the third day um, sessions when we have a complex or massive or both things in a project. Complexity is always an issue to solve, and the management of all these data points is always also complicated. So it's important to have specific ways to reorganize items um, in terms of uh, have a hierarchical structure, a clear structure of the data points. This is really critical. And you will understand at the end of the training why we are insisting on this every day and every hour. But it will save really months of work if you do it well. I used to say, and it's not a joke, uh, please think first and do after, not vice versa, because we are integrators. So we know that, okay, we can solve it and we do it fast and we do, and then, okay, it's not working fine. And then we have to think about, no, please do this mental work before, but no problems. We have enough opportunities to do it, to do our work using the BMS. How? First approach is the aliases. The aliases, I will show you what I'm talking about when we deal about aliases. And this is a first approach. I like this approach, but there is a second one that is the virtual items. Okay, so I will just starting with aliases, and then we will take a look also in the rest of the item tree. That is also very important for us. Looking all these branches that you have here in the item tree, not only XIO. Okay, in XIO branch we have our KNX, we have our BACnet devices, we have the HTTP items, or even much more things that we should be able to integrate. We don't have time in this training about talking about Modbus because it was not included in the in the description in the timeline. But Modbus is also very easy and very powerful driver that we have. But not time for this, no problem. We also have another videos from other more intensive trainings with more complete details there. You can download this also from the website. So it's not a problem. The support, of course, will help you if you have any requirement about these integrations. So we are open to help always. But now it's time to go ahead and reorganize items. So let me open just a Word file, empty Word file, because I would like to show you something here. Okay, the item structure from our point of view is clear. I will show you, for example, one data point. From BMS point of view, we can see here our item ID. It's very important, so I will just write it here. An item ID can be this. Let me show you a bit bigger. NETx XIO KNX. This is from our tree, NETx tree. There is a branch called XIO, okay? And inside this branch, there's another branch, there is KNX. And inside this, there is the room 0101. And what is this? The group address. Okay, this is clear. And exactly the same light in another room, for example, room 040 or 0302, exactly the same configuration because we decided this before. I will copy, well, we can copy also from here, copy item path to clipboard, so it's possible here or here in this properties window. So properties, we will deal about properties later on. Let me check why this is not, okay. Properties is also important for us. Okay, so item ID, let me open again Word file. For another room, to control the same light, the only thing that changes is, for example, the floor number or the room number. So in KNX, it's really nice because I have created a typical structure that, for example, to control another light, I will copy paste here, light 11, the only thing that will change is the last number. So I will mark this with, for example, a red color. This is the circuit. And this is my group address strategy, for example. Or maybe I change the control from, I will put in orange color. This is on off. Okay, yes, you are right. I have it paused. My mistake. I'm so sorry because it was paused. I'm so sorry. I was just writing in the Word file. Sorry for this. Writing in the Word file the item ID for different elements. For example, you can see that the two first item IDs in this Word file are NETx, XIO, KNX, the room, okay, the IP gateway,
Julio,
Yeah.
1 second. We have a comment from ABB Korea. We can't see your screen, but I can see your screen.
Yeah, because
Please.
I have now resumed the sharing because it was in pause.
Okay, okay, okay.
Sorry for this. Yes, yes. Now it's working.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I was just telling you that from the item ID point of view, the KNX programming was clear, okay, and well done. We could say that it's very simple to identify different circuits with the, for example, the light number is the red color 1, 0, 1, 11, or whatever. You can see here that from this point of view, a light is on off of every light. The only thing that changes is the last number. So it's, for example, on off light 12D or 101 or whatever. This is the number of the circuit. We have intermediate group address. This is just an example how to do this, but we have intermediate group address. So, for example, from on off of this light uh, to distinguish from the status, the only thing that changes for the light number 11 is this intermediate group address. And we also have another different thing to consider is the room number. For example, I will color in green, and the floor number that I will color in blue, for example. So these are the only things that I changed in ETS to be able to distinguish which circuit, which thing I am doing to the circuit, and which is the room and which is the floor of this. So KNX is clear, more or less clear, okay? But this is just a number, so I cannot know with the number if it's the hall light or the bathroom light or the ceiling light or the bed light. Uh, so I have lack of information only with these numbers. The numbers are okay, and I can distinguish the lights, what I do with the lights, and which is the room, which is the floor where this light is installed. But I have some lack of information. But the biggest problem is not this. The biggest problem, so you can see, we have floors and rooms different, and but with the same, for example, for the first light, with the same 2 or 3 numbers. If it's 3, more than 100 lights, it could be 3. But the problem is that if I show you, for example, in BACnet, an item ID, I will tell you, okay, we are going to use, and this is not a joke, it's real, we are going to use um, in my visualization, this BACnet digital output number 2, channel number 1, this will be the do not disturb button. And this item will be the do not disturb status. So if I copy this to clipboard and I go to the Word and I say, okay, what happens in this first room? This is on off light 1, okay, and this is on off light 11, okay, and this is, for example, status light 1, but the do not disturb button, I mean for the room 0101, I mean, okay, is all this. And the do not disturb status is, and I will take from here this copy item path to clipboard. So I have some problems to make this harmonized, to clear, to have again clarify to clarify the structure for this item. So this is the reason why we are going to use another way to give names and reorganize, restructure the items. for example, with the alias. So you will see now how easy we can make all these items together independently of the protocol, independently of the way that you have do the programming. Even if you do a bad ETS structure because you haven't done the training and you didn't realize of this, it's possible to redeem this lack of order in your projects. No problem. We have tools to help you. And the first tool, the first approach is the aliases. So let me show you what I am telling you. Aliases is part of the extensions that we have here. So alias definitions, okay? And you see this is not live option. So it means that if I do alias, I need to restart the server. If you see live, it's not necessary. But if I have to create aliases, yes. So I will insert a new definition. Just an example, say, okay, these aliases, these items that I show you before, I will copy paste from here. So this alias, for example, what is this? This item is on off light one. Okay, light item ID is this. Okay, but the alias will be on off. I will change this because I have a folder, but light, but not one, whole. I can put a name for the light, on off light whole. Path and shortcut, very interesting. Which path? I will organize. This is in room 0101. Okay, and this is one alias. Then I can copy paste because it's very easy to do this. For example, this will be not whole, this will be light bed, for example. Or even if you want to use the status, I will say this is on off status for light whole and on off status for light bed, because I know the structure in KNX and this is for me easier. But the best thing is that, okay, insert a new definition. Well, it should be here. And here I can put, and you will understand why I am doing this one, whatever is the item ID, and this is do not disturb button in the room. And new one, I take TND status, for example. In the room 0101, for example. And if I copy paste this, for example, and change, this is just an example, 0102, I will have this into rooms. Normally we do this in Excel, not here, because here it will be much more items per room and much more rooms to work with. But as an example, it can help. And this is not changing except this. I know the only thing that changes from KNX is the room number if it's same floor. And in this case, it will be, let me check, channel 3, channel 2. No, 3, because do not disturb makeup room. It's the other 3, channel 3. Yeah, channel 3. Well, it should be selected much better than I am doing, but let me check, copy paste, because channel 2 will be makeup room. Channel 2, channel 2. this is D&D. No, this is makeup room for a hotel. Button and the status. Makeup room. Okay. And again, the same here. Channel 4. Let me check this. Channel 4. And 4 seems a bit complicated, but it's not. And this is for room 0102. So this is just a work to do. I save, I restart, and you will see the result, and you will understand why I'm doing this, because it is simplifying extremely my project. And independently of what I have done in KNX part or in BACnet or whatever, if it's not possible to harmonize the item IDs because KNX and BACnet or Fidelio or MQTT are totally different, no problem. We can restructure, rename, and reorganize items using Alias. This is my first approach. And Alias are unlimited in your license. You have unlimited amount of Alias because it's just like a short link to your real items that you are paying for in the license. So it's very easy. So let's check what is happening. That I have my aliases here, 2 rooms with some information. Okay. And then I can show you in the camera, for example. Let me take the camera and show you here. You will see here, and this, the first line will be room 1, the second line, room 2. Do not disturb and makeup room. Okay, let's check if I can write item do not disturb button. Remember, here, okay? Yes, and makeup room or do not disturb button in the other. So 2 rooms, do not disturb. It's working fine. But the best thing is that my item ID is really clear because now
Julio, we have some issue with your audio again. Can you fix it?
yeah, hope so. Now
Okay, let's try. Not so good, looks like.
Now?
Yes, but earlier was better.
yeah, maybe now
Yes. Hello?
it's good again.
No, not yet. Let's keep trying.
Okay, now
But earlier was better. Now we can hear you, but it's not very clear.
understand. Yeah.
Yes, now it is better.
Okay, sorry for this. Okay, so I was telling you that now we have my items in a different way. So I have this item ID is copied to clipboard. So now what I have, it's instead of this mess of items, I have this thing, for example, for KNX, on-off light hole, and for a BACnet item, this thing. So now it's much clearer for me that the only thing that distinguishes the do not disturb button from on-off light hole is just a room number, a floor number, and then we can integrate the visualization, all these elements in the same room, very easy. So with the aliases, we are redeeming this lack of harmonization, this lack of structure. in the BMS. The second approach is to use the virtual items. This is exactly the same thing, but virtual items are preferred for my colleagues because virtual items, that is a branch that we have here. We'll do an example again. Virtual items can be linked directly to the real items, so it can be done also in Excel. So let me show you extensions, virtual item definitions. Okay, we have this, and also, well, we will show you for visualization template. There's also a folder for this, a table for this. Virtual item definitions is also another possibility to create items, like exactly the same idea. New definition, name, for example, on, off, light, hall, okay, and the path, room 0101, description you want, and data type, you need to specify, okay, it's a Boolean, access rights, read and write, it's okay, and then you can link to an item ID. So you can link to the specific item ID directly, selecting what is the light hall in room 0101. So it's just selecting a specific item ID. Even it's possible to trigger a Lua function, a scripting function or whatever, but this way is interesting also to do. And also, if we select absolute, this is a new thing. If you know BMS platform from the past, the virtual items were always possible only to be created in the virtual folder, but now it's not. It could be absolute path through. So this means that I will create a folder room 0101 in the XIO branch. So we can maybe create a better path, or just, okay, for this test, I will say false. No, please create this in virtual. So as you can see, it's possible to create, and I will save and show you that I have a virtual item created here on off light hall, and it works. And I am, you cannot see it, but I am turning on and off the light from the virtual item. So it's exactly the same. So as you can see in the alias, we can see the light hole. If I turn on here, you can see in the alias that is the result is the same. So it's going, the control and the status is responding because both are changed. And I turn off, and it's exactly the same than an alias, but there is a difference. The virtual items is also in the license included. So you have double amount of virtual items. That's okay. That's fantastic because you have a lot of virtual items, but you are wasting virtual items if you are defining virtual items. But it's not a problem because normally you have a lot of virtual items, double amount than the items that you are using in your license. So it's enough normally. But aliases, the difference is that the aliases are not wasting license. So it's for free, let's say, because you are wasting the license with their original items. So that's the only difference between virtual or aliases. So for alias definition, I have a folder. So I will use my folder pre-created by me with all these. So from Excel with all this. So I have my NXA aliases. So you will see that I have a lot of elements. I have to restart the server, as mentioned before. So we can use this alias strategy, okay? So server is restarting again. and we can see the result in a few seconds. And then we can go ahead talking about the management of these items, because normally if you have to create these alias, you may need to have all these items in a specific Excel to be more helpful. So we will deal about this also. So aliases now per room. I have a lot of information like central off, the luminosity, temperature, the do not disturb button and status, make a room button and status, all the light control for some of the lights, not all the lights that we have in the board are here, but two shutters like a bath curtain and the terrace curtain or whatever per room, and with exactly the same configuration. Every single room, the only difference is the floor number and room number, but all the rest of the elements are identical, as we try to do with KNX. You may remember that from the beginning of these sessions, we explained, okay, I have only single ETS project and I am replicating and copy pasting this exactly the same configuration in every single room. It's possible, no problem. It's like importing several projects. It's the same way. We can import several projects in our BMS, no problem. In this case, the projects are identical. And then we are trying to manage all this. But we have BACnet, so this is an additional problem that we have to solve. No problem, because the BMS has the aliases or the virtual items to do this reorganization of the items and restructure of these elements. So this is the way we are going to work from tomorrow with the web manager and all these templates, point of view, and so, and then the last day with the visualization and all these variable point of view. So we will use variables thanks to this well-known structure and well-organized structure. So at the end, we will be able to face massive projects in a very simple way. So it's very interesting because you will save months of work. I'm not cheating you. It's real. You can really save months of work in a project that in principle can take 6 months. You can do it in one or maybe less. Depends on what you are, how you can manage the information on your experience and so. But managing items. Okay, we have tools for doing this. Well, two things we can do. If it's KNX folder, we haven't seen this, but we can do a backup of all KNX values to an Excel file, so that's good. But it's only KNX, so you can send to, for example, this folder, NX, KNX values backup, for example. Okay, fantastic. KNX values backup. 1171 KNX item values exported. Thank you. If we open this file, we will see all these KNX values. But we have another option, tools. And we can back up all the items value to Excel file. And then also load item values from Excel file. This is also done sometimes to give values to the items with an Excel file, because we have a lot of several items in red color. You may remember this quality of the items, but we can also do a backup for all the values. Wow, that's also possible. So I will open this to show you. Now it's about 5,000 items. Don't worry, this is not all these items are counted for the license, only a few of these. And if I open this Excel file, I will open in a different folder because I don't want to disturb you with this. I go to my Dropbox file to find my folder here. And I open this all value. Well, I will open both. First, the KNX values backup. This is only KNX. And this is the only KNX. Well, let me. So this is what we have. KNX are gateways, individual addresses and group addresses. But it's not only the description, also the value, okay? To know which is the value in a specific time. So you have this file has a timestamp, as you can see here. So this is 2025-06-610, that is the day, and 8 hours, 11 minutes, 36 seconds, that is the local time here, okay? This is the status, like a picture of your KNX values at this specific time, okay? You can just take this for KNX, but it's just KNX, it's only these 1172 items, okay? But we have also another file that I will open now, that is the all values backup. All values backup is the whole item tree. The whole item tree is including everything. Everything means everything. Not only KNX, but KNX is the first, but we have also, let me go fast, because you will find now BACnet. Now is BACnet, and also the next about BACnet is, okay, BACnet module or whatever, HTTP, of course, with the different values, I guess. And well, lamps that we'll see tomorrow, because we exported something from ETS, including lamps information. So you can see there are hundreds of things here. It's a massive amount of information, very interesting. And the rest of the item tree is here. So you can change values if you want. You have also the values, I guess, in the, let me make this bigger. Yeah, you have some values here. Well, verdadero is true in Spanish, falso is false, okay? And if it's a number, it's a number. So it's not a problem, but we can have it this way. And there are thousands of items in our tree. So it's really interesting, my aliases, etc. Okay, so this is the whole item tree. So let's talk about this. If you want, you can change values, and then, as mentioned before, if you have changed the values, you can come here back again and go to tools, and in advance load these item values from the Excel file. Okay, so you can give value to an item, to the items. That's possible also, but normally we use these tables just to take the item IDs very fast to manage this in the aliases or in the virtual item definitions, or when we need to link these real items to the virtual items. For example, we will see when we create a project using a template for visualization, and you will see the day after tomorrow. So let's take a look on these different branches. Okay, module branch is to be seen tomorrow, because here we will have the lamps module. Okay, the metering also, metering module, but I will show you from my home project tomorrow. So this is interesting. When we see the web manager, we will see that we can have a count of alarms, total number of alarms and different priorities. And so this is also here, but we will deal about this tomorrow. Cluster is also interesting. We can get information from different OPCs, so it's possible. And this is done a specific cluster menu that you can explore and get information from an OPC or whatever, but it's not enough time to do this. So in this kind of integrations, you will see cluster here, but also you can integrate other BMS. This is really interesting. VNet means internal protocol from NETx Automation that makes a really reliable and robust connection to other BMSs. So you can create a cluster of BMS. Imagine that you have 5 buildings. Every single building has a BMS, but you want to create a super BMS that is supervising all these other BMSs. So this scalability is possible using this cluster strategy. This is really interesting in some projects, like, for example, a university campus. It's possible to do these integrations. Server branch is very important. Okay, we have a lot of items informing us about what is happening with our BMS. Okay, if you are online or in simulation mode, this is an item. Okay, this is also indicated here in the top. Online or simulation is important. This is the very first mistake everybody does with the BMS is when you start the BMS the first time, something is asked to you and you say yes, but you are asked, do you want to start the server in simulation mode? You never, nobody is reading this, but you say yes, because always saying yes is the polite way to advance. But in my case, it should say no, because I don't want to start in simulation mode, because I have my practical boards, real practical boards behind me. So I say no. It's not unpolite to say no, because I needed to be online. So this is a question that we normally answer with a yes, but should be no if you have real devices. Because if you want then to send things to the devices and you are in simulation mode, you cannot do it. It's just for simulation. So, okay, we are online. It's clear because of this item, and we are active. That's clear. And why it is the option to be standby? Because if we are not online, we if I stop the server, I will not see even the item tree, because we could be defined as a main server or a backup server. This is possible also to have redundancy. Identical servers, two servers working in a real hot main backup strategy. So this is possible. This is not our case. We are a standalone server, but it could be possible to have main backup. For specific projects, big projects or critical projects, it's recommendable. And you may need two licenses to BMS, but the cost of the backup license is half of the main license. But this is just a commercial thing. It's not my task to talk you. This is Suvangar's thing. So if you have a backup server, this item is redundant server connected should be true. And this is the typical way to monitor the backup server can monitor the main server with this item, and the main server is monitoring the backup server with this item. So you can trigger alarms. There is an issue with the backup server. There is an issue with the main server. Please check. Because of these items, it's possible. Okay, that's really nice. Connected clients is not only related to visualization, but any kind of clients. Client can be an OPC, client can be a specific drivers, etc. OPC clients specifically here, and this is also very important, telegrams in queue. If you have a 0, it's perfect because nothing is in queue. But you can have some, actually, as you can see, some values here, instant values, but are managed in milliseconds. So sometimes appears something 4 here, 50 something, because technically you can have some polling, for example, for the lamps gateway. So you get this, but this managed really, really powerful way from the BMS. Or queue task commands, if you have some Lua scripts or task or whatever, that's this number. Uncertain items, a lot, but because there are some thousands of items that are not with a value, but this is not a problem. Sessions ID and some information about the last change of the OPC tree structuring ticks. I think ticks are milliseconds, I think. Inside server, there's a license, also important for you to monitor. Now we have growing number of data points included because we add BACnet. You may remember before it was something like 900 something, but now it's almost 1,200. So it's a bit more. And as mentioned before, in my license, I have 10,000 data points, but additional 20,000 virtual items in my license. So in total, 30,000, sorry, 30,000 items, but you pay only for 10,000. That's very important. You have a lot of possibilities with virtual items to play with. For example, one example of virtual items. Imagine that you have temperature in all the rooms monitored, but you want an average of the temperature. Okay, we can create a virtual item and do this calculation and write the result in this virtual item. So this is a typical use of a virtual item. So connections, this is also limited by license. Connections means simultaneous connections for the visualization. It's limited to 3 in my license, but I'm not using any, so no problem. But remember, these information are items. So as any other item, it can be used for trigger an alarm. Okay, give me an alarm if I am reaching the limit of connections. It can be used to represent in the visualization. It can be used to use in any kind of logics. So everything is part of the item tree, and you can use it independently of the reason. No, it doesn't mind. It's an item. It's possible for us to create an alias for this item. It's possible to link with another item. It's possible to include this information in the visualization, as you will see. Anything can be done in NETx because all the items are brothers, let's say. I have KNX, I have BACnet, but all these are the same way. So another items about database. This is also important. Database is included in BMS. And by default, you can install a MariaDB, that is MySQL database, unlimited in terms of size and free. So it's really interesting. But also it's possible to include another instances like Microsoft SQL, for example. So it's possible. Microsoft SQL is not free, but there is a free version, Express, I think is the name. 10 gigabytes is the limit for this, for every instance or every project. But the default MySQL MariaDB is unlimited. So you can see here the name of the database, the type of the database driver, by default MySQL, if it's enabled, if it's connected, the size in megabytes, also very important. If you want to monitor this, it's an item that you can monitor. If it's synchronized, migration status, database version, connection string, and queries queued in the SQL from the SQL side. So really a lot of really important information. Also about the web manager that we will see tomorrow, which ports are you using with the web manager, which is the version of this, and the status. That is also very important. If it's not available, the status will change. So you can trigger an alarm or send an email to you as the responsible of the project. Something is happening in this project, blah, blah, blah. The web server is not connected. You can do it because everything is possible. We have another really interesting tool I will show you briefly, that is the messenger. So I will maybe do one example tomorrow. You can send emails from the BMS. You can send Telegram messages. Telegram is specific, it's like WhatsApp, let's say, it's specific. You can send SMS, voice message, voice plays. You can send to X, to Twitter. Now, formerly it's Twitter. We may change this to X, I think. Or you can send to a printer message. So that's possible also. It's really interesting. So the combination of all the information included in the item tree with all these tools is really making you a powerful project. Okay. Now about Tree API. Tree API is also a novelty from the BMS. We can be considered an API for third-party softwares. So it is possible to, let's say, export information to BACnet or to OPC UA, for example, or to API. So it's possible to be considered as an API. So it's a lot of information in server branch, but it's not for daily work, but for whatever reason, it's possible. And today, it's a branch also interesting. You can get a local date and time, local time in seconds, local time in minutes, local time in hours. Well, you can even create calendars, for example. I have done examples with this, which is the month, the weekday is Tuesday. It's not holiday because I didn't say it's holiday. But if I say you, no, it's holiday, I can configure this. In extensions, there is possibility to define holidays. For example, imagine that today is BMS Day, for example, in the world. This is 10th of June of 2025. It's the BMS Day worldwide. Okay, I save this, and now this is true. It's holiday, and this is the BMS Day. So you can also represent this in your visualization, for example. And these items are dummies. Temperature, minimum, maximum. This can be taken from other items. For example, we have in HTTP, you may remember my weather information. And for example, I have my temperature. So I can drag and drop. You may remember about virtual links, virtual link. So I can serve this information to here. And if I save extensions, filling definitions, I can save this table. Then next time I get information from this, needs to be refreshed, but next time I will get this information here in temperature, or the maximum temperature today, this one, maximum. I don't have more to put here, but it's just a dummy items here, but you can get, and it's interesting because it's very easy to identify this item, but okay, we can use the aliases to make it even easier. So it's not a real useful information now, in my opinion, but it's also here, and we have to respect that we can have this information in today's server. But let me say you one thing very interesting also. The items, every item, and we can see this example using these items, have properties. And this is a good time to deal about this. Properties are represented in this right and bottom screen in the Core Studio. These are properties for the item. For example, properties are the data type, property number 1, the current value, 8, okay. The quality, of course, if I select another one, is uncertain, for example, quality is uncertain. But if it's in green color, it will be nice. It's good. Timestamp, very important. What was the last time you got this information? 10th of June 2025 at 6:08:40. This is UTC, because local timestamp is the real time here from my computer, local timestamp. So you can have the timestamp and the local timestamp to distinguish where you are in the world. That's also important, but the timestamp will be the same. So you have servers in different parts of the world and you have to unify calendars, for example, you will use the timestamp, not the local timestamp, or you can consider this. Access rights, only readable, scan rate, whatever. Unit, no unit here, but in other examples, you can have units. For example, in KNX, I have some items with unit defined. For example, the luminosity, I think, or the temperature. Temperature has a unit. Let me check. And why it has a unit, and the unit is, sorry, I have to. I pressed the close button. It was not voluntarily. About properties, I was telling you. So this room, main function, climate, And the unit is Celsius degrees. Why it knows that it's Celsius degrees? Because in the data point definition, you may remember in KNX Telegram definitions, I say, okay, 0, 3, whatever, this one has this data point definition, value temp. But for example, 0, 1, 11 is luminosity, value lux. So if you go here to 0, 1, 11, the unit is lux, not Celsius degrees. It's taking this information even from the data point type, because the data point has a scale, range, unit, and format. So everything is coming from ETS project. So it's important to do it well. But the last thing I wanted to show you is a very important property, very useful, is the time elapsed. The time elapse is telling me how fresh is my information. So this item, for example, luminosity, is sent every 5 seconds. So as you can see, every 5 seconds, the counter is reset to 0. Every 5 seconds, I have this. For example, for the temperature, it's not 5 seconds, maybe it's 5 minutes, because every second, this is the last time, no, local timestamp is telling me that the last time we get this information was on 8:31:11. Now it's 8:34 here, or 8:35 now. So it's about maybe 300 minutes. So I was going to show you this using the today items, because if I say you local time in seconds, the time elapse is 0 because it's every second is refreshed. But for example, in minutes, it could be from 0 to 60. So it will be 0 in a few seconds, but time, local time in hours are triggered every hour. So 3,600, whatever. June, much more. Okay, the month. Oh, month maybe is refreshed every hour, I guess, because it has the same time elapsed. Holiday was changed 400 seconds ago, and the day is triggered every hour, I think. Okay, so this is really interesting properties. One is the time elapse. So for example, if you want to trigger an alarm, if some element is not refreshed every 5 minutes, something is happening with the sensor or whatever. So this data point has to be refreshed every 5 minutes minimum. So you can trigger an alarm if this is not happening every 15 minutes, for example. MS is giving you this opportunity. So it's very interesting to know this about the properties of the elements, and we can use these properties with the logics, with the X commands, the logics, and all these things. So I will show you the X logic module the third day, some examples, and we have to remember, okay, remember that we deal about the properties, we can take the properties, and we can do examples for this. So, but to finish with this branch explanation, let's go to geo. That's also very interesting. Geo, this means for geographical information. This is about the sun position. That's interesting sometimes to know what is the sunrise or the sunset for us. There is an item that is telling me if it's sun time. It's a virtual sun time calculation. It means if we are between the sunrise and the sunset, this value will be true. And if we are not in this range, it will be false, so day and night. So this is a crepuscular, let's say. Azimuth is an angle from the north of the sun. So 0 is the sun is in the north. Normally is not the case. Sun is rising from the east and going back in the west. Depends on the zone of on the latitude and longitude. The altitude of the sun, 0 in degrees from the horizon, and the zenith. Zenith is the angle from the zenith. The zenith is the vertical. So altitude and zenith are complementary angles. That means the addition of both angles are 90 degrees. But to see we need to identify our position in the world, our latitude and longitude. To see all this information, I need to indicate this, because the moon phase is not necessary to say where we are now. Even 14 is a value for full moon, so it should be full moon. Even if you cannot see the moon, it's full moon. So where to indicate this information, where we are, latitude and longitude? Okay, let's say go to server, system configuration. It's the first time I open this. There's some things that you can change here about OPC, KNX, for example, this timeout for the physical or individual addresses, courtesy time, no, to indicate if it's present or not, system parameters, and in system parameters we have this possibility. So if I can see in, for example, in my smartphone what is exactly latitude with my compass, it's 43 degrees north dot 23 minutes, so this is about 40 or 39 more or less north, latitude north, positive, comma 39, and longitude, okay, 5, but to the west is negative, -5 west of 35, this 5.6 approximately. Negative is because we are west from Greenwich. If it's east, it's positive. If it's west, it's negative. If it's north, it's positive. If it's south latitude, it's negative. That's it. And then we are 260 meters above the sea. That is the only thing that I have to say. So if I restart the server, you will see data in geo branch. And then you can use it for your shutter control if you want, for basic shutter control. If you can say, okay, if the sun is between this and this value in azimuth, for example, and the cloud percentage that is coming from HTTP is less than, let's say, 60%, then I will move the curtain to this position. These kind of things are possible. And you just take the information from this. So, and we are now finishing because it's 8:40, but I will show you this geo information. Now it's giving us information. So today the sun has arisen at 6:41. It will go down at 10 p.m. So it's one of the longest days in the year is coming. The longest days in the year are coming. It's true that the sun is between sunrise and sunset. Okay, and now the azimuth, the angle. The sun is east, north, northeast, or 75 degrees from the north. Altitude is not so big now, but it's really early in the morning, but it's 20 degrees now. And the zenith, if you do the calculation, is exactly the addition of this and this is 90 degrees. So zenith is the angle from the vertical. So your vertical is your zenith, is the North Pole, is depending on your latitude. So this is the zenith. If you have learned about navigation, you know what I mean. Okay. And the moon age, that is full moon. Okay, nice. Geo branch is interesting. Custom is for items that you can create in Lua scripting, that we will see this. But now, really, now is the time that we can create items wherever we want in the item tree. So it's, well, less useful than before, I think, because you can create whatever item whatever in the item tree. So it's not a problem, but now we can also have the virtual items as shown you before. You can define any kind of item, Boolean. Remember that there is a big range of item definitions. Let me see if we can take a look on this. Data type are really huge, amount of this. So typical Booleans, strings, a byte, that's just 1 byte, percentage, for example. A character, integer 8 bits means with sign, int is positive or negative, but with the u before is unsigned integer. So it's not from, for example, integer 8, the range is from minus 128 to plus 127. This is the range. But if it's unsigned integer, the values, possible values are from 0 to 255. So this is just for this to understand. Could be positive or negative if it has not a u before. Integer 16, unsigned integer 16, 16 means the bytes, so the range is bigger. So from, for example, unsigned integer is from 0 to 6500, 535. So 65535. Integer 32 and unsigned integer 32, so a lot, and also 64, so 8 bytes. Float is a real, float is real 32 bits, double is real 64 bits. What means real? Real value is with decimals, so it's not integer, it's with, it's a real values. You know, there are natural numbers, integer numbers, real numbers, and non-real numbers. Okay. Date, time. So it's a lot of possibilities to define virtual items. So there is a lot. Yes, you can zoom your screen. That's right. That's a good tip. Aliases we have seen, and we will use it. But also interesting, the var variables for free. You have 100 string variables to use whatever you want. The item ID is NETx var string item from 001 to 100. So you can use for whatever. It's typical for testing things. Okay, I have to do this. I have to put this average of the temperatures in one item. I will do a test using, in this case, not a string, real, for example. So we have 100 real items, 100 numeric items. Numeric are integers, okay, with no decimals. So as you can see, is int32, the format, the data type of this numeric with sign. Reals are real 64, so the float in 64 bits. Dates, you have with the date format. Date includes date and time. Strings, bit string, and booleans. So you have 100 of each of these elements. So the only thing, the restriction you can say is you cannot delete it, rename it, or add more. It's 100 and that's for free. So don't ask. You can use it forever for wherever you want, but it's not, it's like having 500 virtual items extra, but for whatever use you may need. But it's on the fly to do some tests that are very useful. XCommands, that's really complex things to explain. I think it's to execute XCommands on server or client side, but it's interesting. But I have, Paul has explained to me more than once, and I cannot give you an example yet to this because I normally go to Xlogic and XCommands, and I am using these XCommand event definitions here, so I'm more academic than using this branch. And finally, and to finish this explanation, the XCON driver is really interesting because it's like the big toy you can use. You can communicate with a serial port with a virtual interface, for example, typical USB or serial to IP or whatever, but you can communicate with a COM port with specific configuration, or you can communicate to whatever UDP device, for example, typical beamer projector. So typical device that you can communicate using UDP, so it's possible. Even simplifying commands with these items here using strings or hexadecimal commands, it's possible to attack directly using these commands. using these items from the visualization or from wherever. You can also communicate with a TCP using TCP protocol in the transport layer, HTTP, but we have seen that HTTP is much more easier to do with these um, definitions. Okay, but you can also do some uh, parsing of information here with get and put commands. But if you need post, for example, you have to use the driver, HTTP driver. You can select if it's get, put, or post, and even RSS sources. So it's really interesting that we can work also with the XCON driver. So, and this also can be handled using X commands with the X logic. So all these things are complex things, but for us, the BMS is giving us this opportunity to use. So this is our first approach from the BMS Core Studio. And tomorrow we will talk about the web manager. In the first hour, we will talk about alarms and an example, trends, calendar, for example, and create some examples using templates. So it will be possible to create a big amount of alarms, a big amount of charts, big amount of calendars using templates. And I will do it in the first hour. After the first break, we will talk about modules like lamps for lighting management and metering, that also both are really interesting. And in the last session, a first approach about visualization, the basics for visualization. And this is for tomorrow. So thanks so much for your assistance today, and everybody is almost in the room. So fantastic, thanks. And I hope that I could explain to you how easy and powerful is this Core Studio to integrate different protocols and to harmonize all this information. So, but you will enjoy more tomorrow, even more, because we will see a practical application of these items for the management of this information and in the future for the visualization. So everything will be explained tomorrow and in the day after. So thanks so much. If you have any question, we are open to
Yes.
receive them. And if not, maybe you can think today about questions and put the questions tomorrow in the chat. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Leo. What I'll do is I will uh, now activate the option for anyone to unmute and ask a question if you want. So you can unmute your microphone and ask a question to Julio. Maybe that will be faster instead of writing it on the chat box. So I
Yeah.
have removed the option, mute option, so you can unmute and ask a question one by one. Thank you.
If anybody wants to ask, you can
Yes,
do it. But if you are shy, a bit shy, you
yes.
can
Put it
write
in
in
the
the chat.
chat.
No problem.
And also from today's session, as Julio said, you can come back to us tomorrow also with questions that you have in mind today.
Yeah, normally the questions arise after some time that
Yes,
you
absolutely.
maybe you check the
Yes.
video also. And so we will try to get the video today and give to you this Dropbox link with all these files and examples. In fact, I will show you how to export the workspace. It's very easy, workspace export. So I can give to you all these example in the Dropbox folder. So I'm doing now. I will do it in another page in Dropbox. So you can get this very easy. And at the end is the question is to try to help you as much as we can. So any question will be appreciated, and we will do our best to try to solve any issues or any questions. But maybe you will have also commercial questions. Subankar will be your man, and if you have any technical questions, we can try to answer. But I think it's 4 hours after we started, so maybe it's time to relax a bit for all of you and do the rest of the journey. And tomorrow we can solve it. So typical. It's typical that you don't have any questions today, but you may have this tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So I think we can finish the sessions, Subankar, and continue tomorrow if you want.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we can wait for here a couple of more minutes. If
Yeah.
you have any questions, please put in the chat box, or if you want to unmute and ask, whatever is comfortable for you, and then we meet tomorrow same time as today, and the topics are also mentioned by Julio already. So many thanks to everyone to hang around the whole session. Thank you, Julio, for your
Thank you.
energy and
At
detailed
this hour,
explanation.
this hour in the morning, it's not easy to start at
Yes,
5 a.m.,
absolutely.
but I am
Yes,
doing my best.
thank you very much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah. And okay, so that's mostly it. Okay, from Korea, Bayong says we meet tomorrow. So okay, looks like for now we are all done. Julio, I would request you to hang on a couple of more minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to have a short discussion with you.
Okay.
And yes, so see you everyone tomorrow, same time, to continue with the second day of our training. Thank you so
Um,
much for your participation today.
Thank you, all you, and also for your positive feedback that I am reading in the chat. So thanks so much. See you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, waiting for
Okay.
people to go out. Yes, I will stop
Yes.
sharing.
And you can also stop
Stop
the
recording.
recording.